Hi, everyone. It is your girl, Remy, and thank you for joining me for another episode of Self Centered with Remy. Today, I have a super cool guest, a longtime friend of mine, Nnaoma, who is a recent PhD graduate. And I'll let him introduce himself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nnaoma. I am a postdoc researcher at University of California, Irvine. Just graduated with my PhD in biomedical engineering, and looking forward to this conversation. Right?
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Nnaoma, for joining me today. Today, I want to talk about the race to the finish line or the race past the finish line. You and I both just graduated with our PhDs in bioengineering, biomedical engineering. And so I want to talk about navigating the end. Everybody talks about like what you need to do to get prepared and what you need to be doing during the PhD, but no one really talks about like what it's like closing that chapter and starting the next one. So I guess to start off, could you tell us what your dissertation was about in simple terms?
Absolutely. Funny thing enough, I had a whole pitch competition about this, but I'll keep it simple.
Really?
So, uh, yeah, again, I'm also in the same field as you, biomedical engineering, but
Mhm.
my research was more cardiovascular focused. So, I developed a pediatric cardiovascular heart valve for young children with congenital heart defects. So if they have holes or certain valves in the heart weren't forming properly, we
Mhm.
made a valve that can be implanted into a child at about 1 years old, and then without open heart surgery, and then it can be expanded by a balloon that is inserted through a catheter into the groin to a larger size to allow them to live with that valve up until they're a young adult, and then they can receive a more permanent or an alternative valve that way as well.
Okay. Cool. And so how did you pick that project?
Yeah. So I guess I always wanted to be an engineer or some like an inventor. That was my original interest when I was
Mhm.
a young kid. I liked tinkering and fidgeting with things and seeing how things worked. At one point, I thought I'd be a person that designed spaceships or airplanes, and it wasn't. I think when I had a physics class my junior year of high school, I learned more about heart valves and
Hmm.
artificial heart pumps, and that was really cool to see the bridge between uh, machines and physics integrated into the body. And I thought that was like a really unique space where I could do a lot of cool work. So then,
Yeah.
yeah, so I did. I had an internship. I got my bachelor's in biomedical engineering. I got my master's also in biomedical engineering. But I just was kind of really interested, and then I was looking for projects in neurovascular engineering or cardiovascular engineering, and then I found this project at UC Irvine, and here I am now.
Wow. That's so cool. And so what was grad school like? Because I know you did your master's and then you went for the full PhD. So, what was like the grad school experience like for you?
Yeah. So I was down between picking UC Irvine and another institution,
Hmm.
and um, when I was looking to decide and pick, I had some good conversations with the professors here, and I mean, my industry is also based in Southern California. So once I started, I kind of knew I hit the ground running in terms of okay, like I got a network. I want to make sure I have certain opportunities and whatnot. But um, it's the environment's very different than work culture. Like I
Yeah.
mean, both of us we worked in industry before
Hmm.
we went to grad school, and I'm like flashbacks. So first year, not because the amount of classes I had to take. So I came in with a master's degree, so I already had, um, I could waive a certain amount of classes already. but,
Right.
my advisor recommended that I take 2 math classes and, some other courses as well, and at first I was like, "Ah, do I really need I don't need to do this." But he's like, "You know, it's a thing I think it's a good idea." So I took them anyway, did well, passed, no
Mhm.
troubles there, and on top of doing some extra research. But one, yeah, it did allow me to meet other classmates, but also I was kind of realizing, ooh, I had not been in school for a little bit. So,
Yeah.
it was really interesting finding community.
Okay.
That was my next challenge in terms of, finding other minorities or finding other people who understood maybe the way in which I'd grown up, or also kids of immigrant parents.
Mhm.
And so yeah, that was I was able to do that, and especially I also had to go to LA at times to meet with other people.
Oh,
Irvine's very is a city that's been kind of developed to like the people that developed Irvine wanted it to look like a utopia. They did what
yeah.
utopia. So, and that leads to it being called a boring city because there's not a lot to do out here. It's a very nice and
Yeah.
safe space, but to raise kids, to retire, but if you're young, you gotta go outside of Brooklyn.
Yeah, for sure. I've been to, like, Irvine, Costa Mesa, and it's very suburban, white picket fence, 2.5 kids and a dog, like, very all-American, standardized,
Yeah,
town.
age,
So
yeah.
yeah, like, very beige, like, um so I understand the need to leave to find your community. So, like, as you were going through grad school, finding community, what was, like, your relationship with, like, your PI and your lab mates?
It very much varies. There's certain categories of PIs in terms of those that really care to mentor and see students flourish. Some that really just want to squeeze and wring everything out of you to get publications, papers, conferences,
Yeah.
data. And then there's those that are in between, and then there are those that don't care. And then it's all over the spectrum. But
Yeah,
um, with my PI, he's very ambitious, very, very ambitious guy in terms
okay.
of he has a lot of patents, a lot of publications. And when I first joined his lab, I kind of had to uh, get used to his work pace
Okay.
initially. And at times, especially for the project, I realized we did not see eye to eye in terms of certain
Mm.
aspects of things that we could do, or things I should be doing, or things I want to explore. And
Mhm.
I remember, fun fact, I did my qualifying exam the fall semester of my second year. So I had just
That's
finished my first year, and as soon as like November of my second year, I qualified.
that's
You know?
nuts. And I think, like, this is a good point to, like, back up and explain to listeners, like, what these milestones are and why
Yeah,
it's so
absolutely.
crazy that you did your quals in your second year.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Uh, so typically in most PhD programs, there's, I guess you'd say, 3 checkpoints.
Mm,
So the first
okay.
exam for us is a preliminary exam. So what happens is you pick your cluster or your thrust. That could be cardiovascular engineering, neuro, biomolecular, a bunch of areas of your
Yeah,
interest.
like signal systems,
Yes, exactly.
biomechanics, yeah.
So then,
Mhm.
they send you a paper, and you have 2 weeks to read over the paper and prepare I believe, a 20 to 30-minute presentation, PowerPoint slide, presentation, and then you present it to 3 professors in the department that are experts in that area, and then you're essentially asked questions about that paper to kind of really understand and see your level of depth and understanding, of the paper, and being able to critically think and analyze the paper as well. Even funny story, I was actually late. to
My
my
goodness.
I was
Mhm.
late because I was at the wrong room, and one of the committee members walked by, and, uh, I looked at him, and I was like, "Where's he going? This is the room." And I'm looking at my watch, I'm like, "It's like 2, 3 minutes and nobody's here." And then I check the email again, look, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, it's the wrong room." So I start sprinting, and then the chair of the, preliminary exams, like, on the phone with the BME, coordinator is like, "Oh, Nnaoma just walked in." And
Oh my goodness.
I was like, "I'm so sorry." Like,
They were looking for you like, "Where is this
my
kid?"
saving grace was that that professor walked by and saw me. It was like, "Oh, yeah, I saw you. You were sitting outside that."
And it's really frying me that he didn't say anything to
He
you to be like, "Why what are you doing here?"
didn't say anything, but I passed. I got full points too, 8 out of 8.
Perfect.
So, very,
Love
very
to
happy.
see it.
So, so we you once after that exam, then at some point, typically between your 2nd to 4th year, most students do it around their 3rd year-ish,
Mhm.
you take, your qualifying exams, and that's essentially where you write a proposal and present the proposal to your committee.
Okay.
This is a committee of approximately, I believe, 3, it depends on the university and department, but 3 to 5 members, and, you make a presentation and you explain what you're essentially going to be doing for your dissertation and then the next couple of years while you're doing your PhD. And you're going to be kind of outlining and providing a timeline of what you want to do, why you want to do it, and how you intend to pivot if things don't occur, because they're going to ask you questions as well. And then
Mhm.
finally, at the apex of all of this is the dissertation, where you've now completed, and that's if you pass your proposal, because
Of
you got to make
course.
sure your committee likes that. If your committee likes it, then you move forward with your dissertation defense at the end of your 5, 6, even 7 years, and you write your dissertation, however many pages that is, and with your publications, your data that you've collected, and you create a 45-minute PowerPoint presentation, and then there's some time for the audience to ask questions. Then you have a closed door session with your committee where they grill you in terms of questions, or maybe conversations.
Mhm.
It depends. And
Yeah.
then they kick you out of the room. They talk amongst themselves, and the chair of your committee or your PI will come back and let you know if you've been awarded your PhD.
At this point, I kinda wanna fast forward to, like, when you were getting close to the end. Like, how did you know you were done or going to be done soon?
I just thought about that whole qualifying phase, and that was a rush in itself. Yeah, once I had the outline for what I wanted to do, I tried to follow that as much as possible because I wanted to really make a complete dissertation and thesis. So originally,
Mhm.
I started in September of 2021. My goal was 4 years in and out, you know?
Mhm.
So around last year, I was thinking, okay, I can maybe be done this year, and I still need to get this one publication out. Didn't come out till, I believe, April, May.
Mhm.
And then I realized, okay, it's probably not going to happen, but I'll push it to 5th year.
Okay, yeah.
So around fall of last year, my advisor and I had a discussion in terms of what we want the rest of this project to look like and what benchmarks I have to hit, looking back at what I did for my proposal. So
Mhm.
I thought, okay, we're clear. I have one more paper I need to put out, right? I have one more paper I need to put out, and then I'm always involved in other projects. I'm managing all these things, and then still focusing. Okay, I got to just get this data for this paper, and I was
Mhm.
having a lot of issues with the computational data because I was collaborating with some a group in North Carolina with their
Okay.
open source platform. So then December comes around because I'm not getting this data. January comes around and I'm like, dang, this is not going as planned.
Yeah.
And my advisor tells me there's this publication that we're supposed to put or submit for this data. So he pushed the publication deadline back to April. So I was like, okay, I have till April. I got to get this done so I can be done like
Mhm.
maybe in the summer this year.
Yeah.
March comes around, getting very close. I'm like, oh, the data looks so good. The simulation looks great. Things are crashing. It's not working still. The people I'm collaborating with like, wow, this is actually really hard. This- They're like, dang, this is actually hard, man. I was like, you guys are the ones that wrote the software.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh my
so
god.
yeah, eventually, uh, it was decided. I was thinking, at this point now in March, I was thinking, okay, I'll probably be done in the summer because there's no way I can be done this spring. There's no way, you know? So I've kind of lowered my stress levels a bit, and I'm working with the group still. And we're slowly making some headway. And then I get a call in April from my advisor. He's like, "You set your defense date yet?" I was like, "Pause. Wait, what? No way." And I told him I thought we were not gonna be done. I don't have this data for this paper. We could, I'll be done by for sure in the summertime. And he's like,
Mhm.
"No, you need to defend this spring. Like, find the last date of this semester, of this quarter that you can, and set up a date, talk to your committee, and do all this." So stress levels spring exponentially, have to
Panic.
churn. And I thankfully I made a dissertation document. Remy, when I tell you words were falling from my mind and my mouth onto my laptop, just typing, pulling from my other papers. I immediately sent emails to my committee members. I'm like, hey, here's some dates.
Mhm.
When are you available? They all fill it out within 2 days. Book the date. Okay, I'm like,
Perfect.
okay, now I have to get the dissertation done 2 weeks. It's just like our internal rule within the department is that you send your dissertation 2 weeks before your dissertation date.
Yeah,
I sent mine 5 days before
that's
to my
nuts.
committee.
That is nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, but
So
that's real. That happens. I think that happens more frequently than not. But I that last month when you're trying to pull the experiments together, right? I mean, was it chaotic?
absolutely. I was collecting data that I was receiving from the computing cluster and then making images and then throwing it into my dissertation. So I put an embargo actually on my dissertation. So you can't even read it right
Okay.
now. It won't be
Oh,
released
okay.
until next year because I want to make sure we need to publish this data first
Yeah,
from this into a paper, which will be ready hopefully the end of this month. That'll be released next June, but for the time being, I'm still fixing some things and hopefully it'll all be ready by August. That was probably one of the most stressful things in my life I've done so far.
yeah. I
Absolutely.
believe it.
And I'm sure it may be the same for you, but
Yeah, it was very stressful. I was just trying to make it to my defense date. There was nothing else in my mind other than make it to the date.
yeah.
And so I kind of wanted to kind of dig into like how it felt after you defended, um, and like kind of started going through like the celebratory phase. And we can talk a little bit about the day of the defense too. But for me, I woke up the day of my defense and I was so calm. I was like, yep, today we are going to do a thing. Yes, all my friends and family are here. I'm gonna go do the thing, and then I'm hopefully gonna eat something solid. And it was like eerily calm for me until I got to the room. So I kind of want to like get into like how was that day for you?
So when I woke up, first thing I did say a prayer because I was like, I gotta make sure today goes smoothly. Um, and then as I was getting ready, showering, I was just kind of in a state of like clear focus, honestly.
Hmm.
But then I got into my car because I
Yeah,
drove and got parking because I wanted to just make things easier for myself. And
of
since I'm
course.
dressed up in a suit,
Yeah.
and I was playing some Kendrick song.
Hmm.
I just wanted to feel hype, I just wanted to
Yeah.
feel mentally hyped and focused on like this is it. But as I was like listening to it, a part of me was just like, wow, finally,
Hmm.
finally,
Hmm.
today's the day. And like a part of me just is like it's almost like an emotional release, you know.
Yeah.
Part of me, like I got a little emotional, honestly, just from the fact that
Mhm.
I was like 5 years. I'm now at this point where I can show everyone the work I've done, the hours I put in to produce all this data to uh, uh, hopefully produce something that is worthwhile and that
Yeah.
has an impact. And some
Hmm.
people ask me like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I describe it." And then people hear babies or they hear heart valve, but when they see the images, see the videos, see the data, they're like, "Oh my gosh!" People are like, "Whoa, you did! a lot. I was
Yeah,
I was like, "Yeah, I did a
I
lot of."
remember. I was on Zoom for your defense, and I was like, "Oh, wow, this is really good." And I was like, "Dang, he's still presenting results." Like, you'd be like, "Yes," and then also and I was like, "Okay." And so, no, the body of work was actually very well done. It was very
Thank you.
cohesive.
Thank you.
I, of course, have to give you your flowers. I'm extremely proud of you, extremely proud and humbled to know you, to call you a friend. It was definitely a treat watching your defense.
Thank you so much, Remy. I
Of
appreciate it.
course.
No, yeah, I was just glad everyone could be there. Had some great questions. I it was yeah.
Okay.
Um, One of the things about my defense, though, so after the questions, so after I presented, then it was audience questions, and that was
Mhm.
approximately, it was supposed to go on for like 15 minutes. It probably went on for like 20, 25. So I could tell my advisor was like, "We gotta go," you know.
Yeah, like wrap this
So
up.
exactly. So now it's around 10:15. We had the room from 9 to 11, 2 hour block, and I remember I was talking about, like, during the closed door session, it can be, a discussion or questions after questions.
Yeah,
So,
bombardment.
bombardment. So we're sitting in the room, and my advisor's just looking, "Okay, you guys can ask him away." One of my committee members looks at me, he's like, "I'm ready." Bombardment, bombardment, question after question after question, and I was like, this I did not expect this," you know? Of course, I could answer them, but they were also some of the questions I was like, okay, I get what you're trying. This is very theoretical. So this is something we could have counted for when we first started the project, but due to funding and time and, there's a lot of factors, you know. So now this was maybe like this went on for like half an hour or something. We're getting close to 11. And all of a sudden we hear the door in the back of the room just open. And I look and I see a professor I know and some a student, and then a couple other professors walking in, and I was like, we're all looking at them like, "What are you guys doing?" They're like,
Yeah.
"We have a dissertation defense that starts at 11, and it's like 11:06." And I was
Oh,
like, we're like, I didn't realize the room was like booked right immediately after ours, so we had to
um,
leave, go out to the courtyard, and we keep doing this discussion, this closed door session. So after that, one professor asked those questions. The other guy's like, "Okay, I think I have a few things." One of our collaborators that I'm really close with, he's kind of
mhm.
just sitting there. I can see in his eyes. He's like, "Why are we here?
Yeah. What are we doing?
What are we doing? This should have been 10, 15 minutes and we could have went home. We're still sitting here
Mhm.
asking this man questions." So he didn't even ask me questions. He was just like, I'm good."
No, it was very similar for me as well. There was one committee member that just monopolized the closed door session. And I think I was told afterwards that everybody was very anxious for me to come back out. And for me, the saxophones were getting very loud in that
Oh.
moment because this is someone who I thought I was like, I don't know if you had like a favorite committee member or not, but like he was one where I was like, he's he's no nonsense, but he's gonna keep it real.
Hmm.
And like we all know why we're here. There's like an unspoken rule of like, okay, once we get to the defense, we know that the person's done. So I was just like, where's this coming from? Like, what is the beef right now? Why are you doing this? Why are you showing out in front of the other committee members? And so I just kind of I was sitting there and I think I was also like exhausted. I didn't eat anything. I probably just had water that whole day.
Mm,
And I also wore heels to my defense.
I show out.
And yeah, and they didn't give me a chance to like sit after the closed door session started. So I stood for the entire presentation, for audience questions, for the
Yeah.
closed door
Same here.
Q&A.
Yep. Yeah. But you're in heels. So
Yeah,
that's
and my feet were like, "Girl," feet were like, "Wrap it up." Um, but I saw the clips of you coming out when they announced, like, "Oh, announcing Dr. Agwu." I was like, "Ah, this is exciting. So it's very good to see that. For me, one of the biggest things that came up after being done was like I was so relieved that it didn't feel real. I was like, this feels like a dream, and it feels like I'm gonna wake up and they're like, "Ha ha, you're not done." So I don't know if you felt similarly or if like
So, one of my collaborators who was working as a postdoc, I was telling him I was kind of nervous for this whole thing, and he literally said, "Nnaoma, this is a stressful formality." And I was
mhm.
like, it didn't ring until
Yes.
after I passed and defended. I remember when I finished and I was collecting my things, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, yeah." It's like realistically, I don't like your PI wouldn't put you in a position where you're gonna fail.
Yeah.
That would look so bad on them,
Ye
you know. But it's still just the environment of it all, the environment of it all, and the people around, and you really just want to make sure you show your best effort and work, and make sure
yes.
that's heard and seen. I went home after I slept. As soon as I was done, I went home, ate some food, knocked out. Like my advisor didn't hear from me. He knew not to bother me, so he just kind of was like, "Yeah, let him take
I
time."
love that for you.
Yeah,
And just like for more context for listeners, the reason why your PI or mentor wouldn't put you in a position where they think you would fail because the expectation is that you will pass. They would not let you schedule your defense unless they knew you were going to pass. You did the right thing. You went home, ate, and slept. I did not. I went out with my parents for dinner, and then I went out with my friends all night, and I was exhausted by midnight. Um, but, I think, like, the celebratory part
yeah.
of it, like, it was a whole weekend just, like,
Hmm.
I remember seeing, like, the snippets of you on Instagram, and I was like, "I'm glad he's having a good time." Um, and so now that you're kind of done with that, you've, like, finished the bulk of what's involved, what comes next?
Yeah. So right now, I'm working as a postdoc researcher, as I said before, on this
Mhm,
project. But we're actually now pushing this project. We had a meeting last year with the FDA, and we're looking at how now we can take our heart valve and begin the pathway to in-human clinical trials. So yeah, so I'm leading right now essentially an early feasibility study where we're implanting them in, our valve within 6 mini pigs, and then we're doing some
mhm,
extra biocompatibility tests, simulated use tests. So the goal for that is then we have all this data, we send it to the FDA, and we say, hey, like this is what we're proposing in terms of what um, the next round of studies, which is called pivotal studies, would be. So that also would maybe require a bit more animal studies, but also that we can outline really what the inhuman clinical trials would be. And the challenging
yeah,
part, I think, with this though, is because we're working within pediatrics, so it's young children. And I think
mhm,
some parents maybe will wary at times of using an experimental device on their child who may have a congenital heart
course,
disease. But the thing is, a lot of our medical devices that we see here today that are present in the market are from having to do with first in human. Personally, for me, I want to make sure whatever I put out is something that is safe for individuals
mhm,
and patients, because especially it's my name on the line, you know?
mhm,
So I definitely want to make sure parents and patients know that we've done a lot of rigorous testing within animals, within simulations, on benchtop, biocompatibility, so they know that what we're designing will really benefit their child. I do
yeah,
have entrepreneurial pursuits personally as well with my work and maybe possibly consulting. And then I'm also looking at other opportunities from different connections I've made in terms of exploring industry because I've always wanted to go into industry, but now
right.
that I've seen the scope of industry, I don't know if I've become picky. I'm very selective in terms of how I want to use my skills and where I want them to go.
That makes a lot of sense. And I think it's good to be picky because something that my dad and I were talking about kind of jokingly, I was like, He's like, "Yeah, there's no more school." And I was like, "There's no more school. This is a terminal degree. Like anything that I do beyond this would not be like, oh, you don't have this degree, so you're not qualified for this role. You're qualified for any like after the
You're
PhD,
overqualified now for
you're
certain things. Yeah.
overqualified. There's not much else you can do. So there's like now it's just work until you retire, which is not always a soothing notion, but I think you have every right to be picky because you are essentially carving out the beginning of your career.
Mhm. Exactly. And I also do wanna say, though, yes, it's the end of our degree, but that means we don't stop learning.
Yes.
We keep learning. That's one thing,
Yes.
especially
I
with the
love.
way things are changing, you have to keep learning in this day and age, and being
Mhm.
able to adapt and change, carry your passion with you to new opportunities, you know? I think the biggest thing is engineers, we really understand how to look at problems and then
Yeah.
find solutions, and I think that's something that's translational across many different industries.
Yes.
So, that's what I also try to keep in mind as well.
Yeah, for sure. Like using your technical skills, your critical thinking skills in different arenas is definitely something that I really like and admire in people. I know that academia is not high up on the list for you, but I feel like you would make a really good
So
PhD.
many people who said that to me, and I don't get me wrong, I thought about it. I was actually really thinking about it, like, my first into the beginning of my 2nd year, but
Mhm,
for now, in terms of especially with what I want to do with developing medical devices,
mhm,
I see a bit more of a pathway for that within industry than academia, but don't get me wrong, I still wanna mentor. I've received the value of mentorship. I wanna
mm,
continue to pass that on, whether that be through other organizations or even making an organization of my own. You know,
yes.
I especially for people like us, because I think if you have that influence and that person behind you who's pushing you, because sometimes we're resistant to change, but when you have that person who's pushing you and encouraging you and allowing you to um, allow your personality and your skills to flourish in ways that you may have not recognized, um, it helps create a environment where you see more of us, but also more of us are just confident in terms of how we move about in the academic and industry space. So
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And I really like that. I think you are a really great mentor. I mean, I look up to you and I if you give me advice, I take it as Bible.
thank
No,
you.
I do. You always give me sound advice. And so kind of to round out the conversation, what advice would you give to someone who's partway through the PhD, they're in that, like, 2nd or 3rd year slump. They're trying to figure out, "How am I gonna get myself out of this and come out on the other side?" What would you say to them now that you're done?
Um, second, third year student. And yeah, because I mean, we've been there. But I think
Mhm,
the biggest thing first, make sure you know your why. Remind yourself of your why. You've heard it's a marathon, not a sprint. It's a marathon.
mhm.
Know your why for why you're doing this degree, because this is really a test of your resilience more so than your intelligence. Next, I would say uh, document and write things down. In terms of an outline or sit down with your advisor, I know different institutions do different things. We had a yearly IDP or development program where we're supposed to fill out and kind of uh, highlight the things we've done in the year and the things we plan to do for the next year. Because it having things in paper and being able to see it in paper helps is actually reinforcement to you, honestly. And I think sometimes when we're in research, we discuss things verbally or they're written in emails, but they're never written in a certain way that it's like these are the benchmarks we're trying to hit. And you're just kind of trudging along, and then the PI will be like, "Oh, let's do this. What about this? What about this? Oh, let's add this project. Oh, you have time to do this. Oh, work with this person on like." And then before you know it, you're juggling all these things,
Yes.
and
Mm,
things start falling, and you're picking balls up and trying to, hold the whole
yeah.
juggling act together. So outline, write, and try to have open outline, not path and trajectory. So if it's in writing, you both know this is what we've been agreed. And then if
Mhm.
it's a little bit difficult, use your committee. Your committee is also the ones that are going to ensure that you pass. And they're also part of your support group as well. So I would
Mhm.
highly recommend you lean on them and refer to them if you have certain questions, especially if you're outlining certain things, so they can also check in and um, support you if your
Mhm.
connection isn't as close to the PI. The other thing say is you have a life outside of lab.
Oh,
You have a
that's
life
that's a
outside of lab. I'm still guilty of this. Like I'll stay late some days. I try to remember uh, the activities and the things like the dance classes, soccer, music, other things that will separate me from this.
yes.
Friends, family, because if you get too pigeonholed, you're gonna spiral, and then people are gonna be like, "What's going on? You're not being yourself." Because it's very easy to that happens easily within academia if you're not careful.
Mhm.
And I've seen it happen. I would recommend therapy as well. I went to a therapist the first time ever during my master's degree, and this was right during COVID too, especially the isolation and stuff. I was like, "This is something I feel like I should just talk to somebody. Let me just check," you know? And
Yeah.
that was a good experience, and then again, when I started I think around my 2nd year, when I was kinda struggling with my why and the way things were running within my lab, I was like, "I
Mhm.
think I should talk to someone as well. Maybe I can get some good advice." And that also was, very valuable, honestly,
Yes.
2nd time I went, and I recommend people don't shy away from it because if anything, it's a way to that they can present solutions that, uh, you may not have thought of or methods that you can take to put yourself on the right step to ensure that you finish. Or they may even realize that this is not what you wanna do, and you're just doing
Yeah.
it for not reasons that are valid, and you yourself may know them, but you're
Mm.
either too stubborn or too too, um, headstrong
Right.
to shift, you know?
Yes.
So, yeah, I'd recommend therapy as well, and then, yeah, and then finding community. That's the other thing too.
Mm. Yeah.
Whether that be through church, faith, sports groups, clubs, even just random friends in your lab where you guys just discuss and talk and vent. Honestly,
Yeah.
those things help.
Yes, for
Those
sure.
those things absolutely help. I think every university has an academic bubble. Leave your bubbles. So there are people that don't care about your citations. They don't care about your publications. There are people that are totally oblivious to your world of the things you're doing. You know,
Mm.
I think like 2nd year, I was sometimes families will come onto campus, and I
Oh,
was
yeah.
deep in thought and walking home, and I remember seeing this dad playing with these 2 kids, and I stopped and stared, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, people have kids." I was like, "Oh, yeah, there's families, people enjoying life in other ways," you know?
Yeah.
And I was just like, "Hey, I need to do something."
That's great. Yeah. I feel like that's like the perfect note to end on. Thank you again for joining me on another episode of Self Centered. Thank you, Nama, again for being such a wonderful guest and such a wonderful friend. Um, and be sure to follow me on Instagram and TikTok to see behind the scenes takes and clips and bloopers and all of that good stuff. And if you're wondering where you can find the full length episodes, I am on every platform where you can stream a podcast. So YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and more. Um, and I hope you follow and subscribe. And thank you again for joining, and I will see you next time.
Thank you
Bye.
again.